Hi, welcome back. This is the third part of our series of videos doing our furry dials. This is going to be the last one that you guys get for free. After this video, any more, you're going to need to sign up for my Patreon. But these three that we've done should be a good taster of the sort of thing you're going to get. Please bear in mind, they'll get better. So we're kind of virgins at this and we're learning what we're doing. So much so that I'd love to have a couple of pictures up that I could actually see, John. That'd be great. My director, he's nightmare to work with these thespians. I tell you, especially the tall ones, because they bully you a little bit when you're only 4 foot, nothing like me. Anyway, back to the point. So, the last two episodes, we've flatlined and we've green stuffed. And now we're on to painting. And I've jumped a little bit ahead, just purely because it's boring otherwise, as I've primed it, undercoated it. But I'll tell you what I've used, because this is quite important. Normally, if I was painting an X-Wing ship, I would just use a fine surface primer straight from the airbrush. Make sure the model was clean, free of any mould lines and so forth, and then just spray straight over the paint. Because this plastic is special, I've used special paint, because from experience the paint chips off. So I've used this, it's called Rust-Oleum. It was from a hardware store, so B&Q, and it's a specific plastic primer. And it gives better adhesion on this kind of soft plastic. So I primed it with this. I only have white at the moment. I haven't got a black one. And because I haven't got a black one, I've then base coated it with a standard GW rattle can black. Just because I'm working really dark colours and I don't want to work a really dark brown up from white. It's just making yourself more work. So that's all dry and done. And I've base coated this edge here, this little bit here and this bit in, I do believe it's called exhaust manifold. These are acrylic, Vallejo acrylic metal colours. We stock them here. If there's anything we ain't got, just give John a message. I'm sure he can get it in for you. Anyway, I'm going to go up to a gold, and I've started with this manifold because I haven't got a dark bronze colour, to be fair. And you're not going to notice the difference. You'll see. All I want is dark metal base, because I'm going to show you now. I'm just going to highlight all of this up with the airbrush. So I'll crack on. If you remember from the first video, I've got my brush, I've got my cleaning method. I'm just going to go straight from pot to brush. A few spots of gold. Oh, I might need to give that a bit of a shake. I may have just got paint medium there. Oh, I'll make it fine, don't worry. Call that my gold period. There we go. A few pots of gold. Little test spray. Lovely. So, magic glasses. It's not just my eyes that go in, it's also my mind. So, what I want to do is I want to spray all of this. It's like a base coat, but I don't want a pure base coating. I want to give it a bit of shadow with a brush. So I'm going to catch this edge. I'm going to start, this is my hard edge of painting, and then I'm going to feather up towards here, leaving the dark around the edges of the fur. So, I'm just dusting the edges first. No need to rush up. A lot of people think that airbrushes just for using stencils and are just for base coating. It says it in the name, it's called brush. I think I use this now more than I do my paintbrushes, because there's so many cool things to do. So look, if you notice, I'm constantly blowing out, or I'll test on my, do you know what? Major rule, before we go any further, rewind selector, gloves, number one thing. Do not paint your ships or anything without wearing gloves. You see me sculpt without gloves, that's fine. Don't touch your models once you start painting with bare hands. It is ruinous to your work. The oils on your hands will strip the paint, they will clean the edges off, and all your work will be for nothing. You'll also get paint reaction. You'll get reaction with your thinners, you'll get reaction with your varnishes. PVC gloves, you get them from Screwfix, you can get them everywhere. They cost me £7 for a box of 1,000. gloves, all the time gloves. So, and we're back in it. So we're just carrying on. And so I'm just wisping it up towards the top. And I'm going to add to this gold in a minute. So this is not the final, this is kind of a base, but I still want to leave that darker imperfection, that darker colour towards the top. So like I said, I'm doing this because instead of, whenever you feel like you're not getting paint, you don't want to blast on your model, you either blast off screen, because sometimes they'll pick up a tiny bit of dry paint and all it needs is a full blast, it's gone, and you're back to, see look, so when I hold on my hand, and I just pull my trigger back slightly, I can see I've got controlled paint. Whereas if I've got to pull the way back to get paint out, I'm at a bad state. So you just want to, you keep, look, and I spat, so do your test before you go to your piece. So I know I've got clean paint coming, I blow out, then I get onto my piece. So I don't want to make, once you make a mistake, it can be very hard to correct, because you can't really correct it with a brush. Alright, so that's caught enough, and I don't know if you can, I'm sure you can pick this up. You can see there's this colour fade already. And that's just using the same colour but reapplying. So paints has something which is called opacity, and opacity is about how the colour shows through to what's behind it. So the more you build up your levels of opacity, the stronger the colour becomes. So here I'm going to start in the centre. See, I just want to whiff a bit of gold in the centre there. I'm going to put a red with a brush over the actual rebel symbol, and just a little bit. See, it was slightly clogged, a little blast, and she's giving me paint again. So that's all I want to do on those two bits, because you're not going to get too much variation in colour here, such a small area. And once I put the brown round, this is it's like a spot colour, it's not really going to be the thing. This is what I'm really worried about putting the shadow on. So I'd normally wash my brush, I'm not doing it. I'm going to add colour and mix in the pot. So this is a dull aluminium. A lot of people, when they highlight gold, they go gold, and it looks wrong. Go silver in the gold, and it creates like a light effect in your gold. I may actually need to use a little bit of, just to give it a little bit more colour. This is my Game Air stuff, whereas that dull aluminium, that's a lot more silver. So I'm just mixing in my reservoir. So now I don't want silver, but I want like white gold. So I just want a slightly lighter colour. So let's wash my brush out. Always tongue your point after you use a brush. That sounded dirty, didn't it? Do you know they actually pay women in Russia to tongue your sable brushes into a point? It's not done by a machine, one of the few things still done by hand. Anyway, moving on swiftly before the director faints and has a heart attack. So let's just have a look. It's a little bit lighter. I might actually need to add a little bit more of this, a little bit more silver. But I'm just going to catch that edge and see what I think. It is slightly lighter. That's it. So I would like a little bit more. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to put 2, maybe 3 drops in this time. Give it a mix. As a final highlight on the gold, when everything else is done, I will run a brush on the edge with almost pure silver, just to catch the edge. It's quite graphic. I'm quite a graphic painter. I'm colourblind, so I paint like I'm reading a cartoon book, if that makes any sense. But so we're just going to keep let that paint change happen. That's it, it's gone a lot lighter now. So I'm just catching this corner, this little bit here, and maybe a little bit at the bottom, just on this front edge. There you go. Right, so let's just pop that there for a second. I will clean it, you'll see me do that, you know I'm funny with cleaning. But we've already got, three colours, just using the airbrush. A nice shadow already done. Yeah, you don't need to go more than that on the edges, because all the detail is going to be on your brown. This gold's going to set the brown off really nice as well. So bear with me a second while I wash my brush. It's important you guys see this, because you mustn't leave your brushes dirty. You know, I did this in the first video, but for the 2 minutes it's going to take me to clean it, it's worth every second. So remember, like I taught you in the first videos, you do not blow through. You wash it all out before you blow. You can blow through clean water, but you do not want to blow through paint that you've just scrubbed out, because acrylic dries incredibly fast. You only need a bit of air to create a hard spot that you'll get in your nozzle. We're looking pretty clean there. Yep. Now I can spray out my clear water, no clogging. If you try and do that with dirty water, dirty paint, you end up getting a little bit in, and all of a sudden it's spitting, it's a pain in the bum, and it don't work. Ready for the next colour. That quick, guys. Just like a little mantra. £100 brush could just go in the toilet if you don't do that. Right, so the next bit, I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. I need to base coat all of the fur and the bandolier in a dark brown. I'm gonna use, no, that's green. Brown. I'm in the browns, everyone. There we go. Charred browns. So again, game air. You can definitely use your normal colour paints. You don't have to use air paints at this point. But I love my game air. It's got a really nice flow to it. It's a little bit thinner. You might need to put 2 coats. I don't really care about having to put 2 coats. I prefer to put 2 thin coats than 1 thick coat and obliterate the paint. I may well go quiet in a minute. And when I go quiet, by the magic of televisual, I'm sure we're going to have a bit of speeded up process, because you don't need to sit and watch me for 20 minutes putting a base coat on. But when you use the game air stuff, it just flows nicely. So even when you're putting a base coat, remember, don't use an overly small brush. Brushes are like any other tool. So a brush is designed to like have a reservoir in it. So if you've got a decent sized stock on your brush and you load it and twist it, your brush will paint like a quill. Whereas if you've got 4 hairs, it's got nothing to paint. So even when I'm painting tiny stuff, you'd probably be quite shocked how big my brushes are and how very rarely I swap down a size. I'll use this brush a lot, even to start putting in detail colours, washes, pin washes, where you'd think you'd need a much smaller brush. But when you hold paint in the brush, and it gives you a feed of paint, you actually find that you paint a lot better and a lot quicker and a lot simpler. And this game air stuff, look, because it's got a black base coat, we've worked off dark colours, I'm not going to need 2. If I do miss the odd little bit of black in the recesses, that's just going to add to a bit of shading. So this is the point where I'm probably going to go quiet and time is going to go into Right, so back with you. So base coat brown's all done. Simple as that really. Just base coat, bit of a hairdryer to dry it out. So what I want to do now is I'm going to ignore this for a minute. I don't need to do any more to that just yet, just in case I'll make some mistakes at this point. I want to highlight the fur with some lighter browns. So I'm going to do that with the airbrush. When I first painted these, I did try dry brushing it and it looks terrible. It just does not give you the same sort of results. So that line, these must be browns. Yep. What does that one say? That's the skin. So what have we got here? Let's, flesh. Leather brown, there we go. So I'm going to start with Beastie Brown, like the Beastie Boys, but now they've branched out into making colours. Let's give that a good shake. I'm going to use two colours, Beastie Brown and Leather Brown, both Game Air. Let's get on my magic glasses. Have a little test that. So I'm going to try not to go right into these corners. I'm going to try not to go to the edges. I don't want to damage the gold that I've done. You don't have to worry about that. You can use your airbrushes very close. Take your time. There's no rush. Build up that colour. People often ask me about overspray and stuff. It is a thing, but there's different ways of using your brush. So nice and close, a little bit of air, a little bit of paint. That's why a dual action is what it is. It allows you to control that mix at the brush. I mean, if you're struggling, you can even turn down your air a little bit on the compressor. I'm running at £20 today. Because honestly, you really do, you just have the control in the actual brush itself. There you go. Let's put a bit of colour. I'm going to swap to the close-up. I'll just pop it there for a minute so you can have a look. Let's give it a little bit of colour. I'm not sure actually, now that I've swapped to that, I've just remembered that I've set the focus on that for right down the bottom. So let's try like that for you, that might be a bit better. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. There's definitely, you can see the light browns picked up, leaving the dark brown. So I'm going to do a quick clean of my airbrush. Lids on your paints. It's important if you just try and keep yourself clean while you're working. You'll make less mistakes. Nice clean area. So we probably don't need to go too mental with this clean because we are going from brown to brown. However, this time I'm just going to check my needle just to make sure, because what happens is once you use them, the actual paint going over the tip of that needle, just the process of that, the air will sometimes dry. So I'm just checking, look, I thought so. Right on the tip of my needle there's a tiny bit of dry paint. So I'm just going to clean that off. There you go. So now I'm back to my real point, whereas before it had like an unmeasurable amount, like 100th of a thou. But that makes all the difference when you're playing with 100th of a thou, because it's what, you know, the openings on these things is so small. The slightest little bit of dirt or imperfection is going to affect what you're doing. So straight up to leather brown. Clean there. It's another thing, because I've cleaned, I sometimes give it a tap and it will spit a bit of water that's just got in there, got caught while I've washed it. Not that it's in my brush, and if that was to spit onto your model, so you always test spray away from what you're doing. So let's go back to this piece. Let's just put that back on my little blue tack tub. Right. So, same areas I did before, obviously, just not quite as much of them. That's pretty close to what I want. So, there we go. So, 2 shades of brown in the fur, that's enough. It doesn't need any more, because now we're going to make the fur pop by picking out the belt. So, I will do a quick brush clean. I'm not going to be lazy. I could be lazy because we're doing filming, and I know you guys are bored of watching me clean paintbrushes. But I've got to do it, otherwise there won't be another video. That's what you need to think about, guys. Unless, of course, you subscribe to the Patreon, in which case I can buy another airbrush. And then I won't have to worry about cleaning them so often on video. I can just switch. So, less cleaning time, more Patreon pleasures. Okay, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Don't be bored. Don't run away. Don't switch over to Coronation Street. Stay with me. Right, that'll do me. Nice and clean. So we can do another one of these videos. Now, the bandolier. I've just moved myself. Let's have a little clean up. The bandolier is brown with the silver parts. So what I'm going to do before anything is I am going to pick out these silver areas. So I have got steel, gunmetal. It's just black. Steel, gunmetal. Oh, what other metals have I got? It's gunmetal, chainmail. I like the sound of that. So this will be quite bright, but I'm going to put a little wash on it anyway. So again, I'm always using my game air to paint with. I love game air. It's like I don't have to put any thinner. If you were using anything other than an air paint with a brush, you want to be using Liquitex airbrush medium or another kind of painting medium. I use Liquitex with all my paint. I know it says airbrush medium. It makes your paint thinner. Don't use water, it's not as good. I don't know why it's not as good, but honestly from experience it really isn't as good. So all I want to do now is just paint both sides of this metal on the model. In fact, I'm going to take this bad boy off. The thinner you paint, the better. Well, you know, it shouldn't be water, but if you let the paint flow, it just makes everything easier. If the paint's too thick, you not only will lose detail, you'll also struggle to paint a nice straight line. You'll struggle to get it to where you want it to go, and you'll be forever going back and trying to fix mistakes you've made. So You know, this is why I wear gloves. I've got my hands all over this. I need to turn it, I need to move it. Yeah, make it easy on yourself. I've seen people that paint on stands and I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they can keep a piece in one space and turn the brush. I need to turn the piece personally. So back onto this side. So as soon as you start to put this silver on, it's already starting to show you the form of the piece. You know, I struggle a lot that when you start and you work on a piece, that I struggle to see the end result, and it's only through years of doing it that you get to like a point with any paint job. It's like a bad haircut, or like if you're growing your hair out, where you get to that point where it looks really bad, but you know that if you leave it for another week, it will be fine. It's the same with painting. You get to a point in paint jobs where you look at it and you kind of go, oh, I don't know if I like it, I'm not sure about it. And that's probably because you haven't finished. And a picture or a piece of artwork is all about composition, and the composition's only complete when it's complete. It's not complete when it's half done. I've always struggled showing people half completed pieces of work because I felt I'd need to explain what's not finished, because ultimately that picture is not, it's just not right until every little aspect's done. So you might find yourself hitting hurdles where you're at kind of midway through a paint job and thinking, this don't look nothing like what that does. You've got to go through all the processes. So don't feel like you're the only one. I've been doing it a long time and I still regularly get through a job and think, oh, I hate it. And then I bear with it and all of a sudden I love it because it's finished and I'm seeing what's in my head as opposed to what's in front of me. Lots of processes. So okay. So I've also got on this, I've got these little buttons. I need to just catch them in silver, and 2 on here, 1 there. So most people when they do metals, or most people, I've certainly noticed people when they paint metals, they don't give it any love. They just put a base coat on, they chuck an ink over it and they go, that's metal, metal's done. Metal's like any colour, although it's got a metallic pigment, it's a colour, and you can highlight it, you can shade it, and you can make it live if you give it time and you give it a bit of effort. People don't spend enough time playing with their steel colours. So if you think about like you're doing an engine, if you look at engines in a real life, something like a jet engine, it will burn brown, it will burn blue. You get all these beautiful colours that you can put. You'll have really high silvers, really dull aluminiums. The same when you're painting gold, you've got really deep, beautiful coppers right the way up to, like I said, like white golds, which is almost silver. And you can put all that in. So, right, that's silver base coat. We're just going to give that a hair dry. Oh, a hair dry down there, hiding. Right, so let's have a look at this. Yeah, right. You wouldn't do me a favour and pass me a Nuln oil. I've left my Nuln oil on the other side of the shop, and Ash is just going to grab it for me because I'm going to do a little bit of a wash. Superstar, thank you very much, Ash. Games Workshop, Nuln oil, everyone knows what it is. I would normally have some Lamy and medium, so if you ever want to use this and you don't want it to be so strong, mix it with Lamy and medium. It will stop when you put it on a large area, it won't split. It splits with water, it doesn't split with Lamy and medium. I don't want much of this, I just want to pick out a few bits, so I'm going to use it neat. And because I'm using it neat, I'll probably have to go back and clean up a few bits. But I want to try and keep it quite specific to where I put it. So all I want to do is I want to run a bit up the side of this actual belt, just to darken the edge of it, because I'll end up highlighting this belt to catch that edge, to lift it against it. I just want to create as much where have we gone? There we go. This will do. So always just keep an odd cotton bud handy. If you ever go over, you can just use it to clean off. So I just want to catch these bits here. So create some shadow, just a little more. It's already dark enough, to be fair. I don't need to go over all the fur. I just want to help emphasise where that belt is pushing on that fur. And then I'm going to put a little bit on the metal as well. Not too much, because I'm going to do some highlighting on the metal. You know, I'm not trying to paint a ship now. I'm trying to paint something that's going to pop a little bit. So it's okay to be cartoony. It's okay to be expressive. Yeah, remember, it's your hobby, your art. There's no rights, there's no wrongs. If you're enjoying what you're doing, it's right. So again here, I'm not going to go all over. I just want to catch those two edges. I just want to make sure that there's a little bit of dark going in that. There's really no need for more than this. So you could use Agrak Surfshade. If you didn't have any black, it'd give you a little bit more of a rusty, battered look. But I can't see Chewie's ammunition pouches being rusty, can you? All that oil off his hair. So while that's drying, instead of hair drying it, it's never a good idea to hair dry inks, because the pressure of the air pushes the ink. It's not set. So hair dryers are great for paint, not great for ink. So while that's drying, I'm just going to base coat the rebel symbol, and we're going to go with red, which is probably going to take me 10 minutes to find, because there's other colours here as well. We'll go red. So just straight up to like a bloody red, this is called, the air colour. Good old fashioned red for a rebel symbol. I'm just going to base coat the symbol itself. Take your time. So like I said, look, you can see with a brush with a decent size to it, I can paint that whole thing. It's fed. You see the paint's fed out of my brush. If you go with something silly, you still got to control. You still got to. You'll get your build up feel for doing stuff like this. Just get a bit of base colour on there. So let that dry off. This and get a bit of on that itself. So I'll still leave the ink. I'll go straight back into the red, and I'll just do a little bit of edge highlighting going up this way now. So because I'm colourblind, that's how I work with colours. So generally I don't like them to be mixed up, but I'll go I use my labels, but just dark to light. That's how you should work with everything, really. I know it gets more complicated when you start painting greens, and there's blue greens and yellow greens and all this sort of stuff, but straight over my head. I have to speak to my wife about that. So I'm going to jump up to fire orange. I don't think I need to touch the hot orange. And I'm just going to put it on the side of my red, just so that I can use a bit of both colours and the colour together, so I can create 2 or 3 different colours with the colour. And I'm just going to catch that edges. And so this is nice and wet, this paint, so you can put it up, take off your excess, and then feather that into the red. And so if you start really high, you're going to notice that, but if you start quite close to the original shade, it's easier to get those soft blends. And then a bit more of the orange as I'm coming in. Like I said about opacity, the more I'm putting on, the more it will pick it up. Just catching an edge. So let's chuck in a bit of yellow. Let's just dry that off. So this isn't really wet blending, this is just layering with paint, I suppose you'd call it. But because your paints are nice and thin, you can feather it out into the darker colour. So you shouldn't get like super hard colour changes, unless that's what you're after. So, because certainly right at the end, I am going to put a really hard yellow highlight on certain bits of this. But at the moment, I just want to create a bit of a fade. Obviously, I haven't got my lovely airbrush because I'm good with it, but I'm not that good, where I could paint this little thing with it. So we've got a red-orange thing going on here now, I like that. I'll take a little bit more yellow, just keep it away from the reds. I might even chuck a touch of white with this, just to make it pop. Mix your paint, George, mix your paint. Right, so just on the tips and the edges, I just want to catch. I took that into the dark a little bit, which is what I wanted. It makes that pop out a bit more.
Can't actually see on the overhead there, George.
Am I in the way? Sorry guys. It's my old eyes as well, guys. Struggling to get all the cameras to work and me to actually be able to see what I'm doing.
Perhaps for the next video we shall have a camera pointed more at an angle downwards.
Can you see now, John?
Yeah,
you guys can see now.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll leave it on that one, then you can see.
But of course they'll have to sign up to the Patreon to see the next video, so.
Okay, so we've got a nice little highlight on that, pops out a little bit, lovely. So back to the belt. Let's get those reds out of the way and let's go back to my silvers. So what we got? We've got gunmetal, steel, chainmail. Chainmail was my original colour. So I'll go back to chainmail. Yes, it's still there in the pot. I had a little bit of steel on the side because I want a bit of a highlight now. I'm going back to my big brush as well, because I don't need to be on my small brush. I'll put a bit of that in there. Now, so time's passed, my paint's slightly dried. I don't like it. I want a little bit more slip. A spot of thinner. Get it back to where you want it. Once your paint starts drying, it does start behaving completely differently. So all I want to do now is catch the edges and feather with my brush. So a lot of what I'm doing, a lot of you won't even see until it's all finished, and then it becomes a thing. As you're going through it, a lot of people don't realise kind of the stages involved with painting. They miss quite a few out, and that's okay until you know what you're doing. And then as you get more into it, you'll learn that the more you put in, the more you'll get out. So now I just want to catch those edges more. So suddenly, because you're adding different colour, different levels of light in the paint, it starts to become three-dimensional. When paint's very bland and flat, you can't see detail. But this allows you to put detail. Paint a picture, guys. I've always said that. Instead of just trying to paint the model, paint a picture on the model. You know? Like as if it was a cartoon, a comic book even, not a cartoon. So that's already, you can see it's shining on those edges. I don't know if you can see it, to be fair, but it is. It's got this lovely shine on the edges. Go with that as well, and I'll just catch the top of these. Leaving a little bit.
Can we see it on the close-up, George?
We can. Let's have a look if we can see that. How are we looking there, John? Yeah, look, I mean, you can instantly see that lighter edge that's along there. So you can see it just starts to lift. So there's a darker colour right in the back. Let's see what we can do on here. So I'm working counterintuitive here. That's it. So catch that edge. Just for as John playing with my focus, you can see just a little bit, just building it up. So catching these edges. Let me get some. I'll come back to that camera.
Yep.
You can stay with it. On let's go up to silver, so an even brighter colour. Right, so
Perfect.
So yeah, let's get you back on your mark. There you go. So you can see, and you need to appreciate, guys, that no camera and no picture will ever truly show you what a model looks like until you've got it in your hand. But you can see that there's colour variation, there's depth, there's texture to that silver. It's not just a flat bit of silver. So I'm happy with the metal. I'm happy with the fur. To be fair, I'd like to fiddle about a little bit more with the Rebel logo, but we're on camera, so I'm struggling to give you 100% just because of distances and the way we're filming things. But what I will do now is I'll move on to the bandolier a little bit, and I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting. Once again with a brush. So I'm going to use the same colours that I used on the fur, but I just want to catch an edge. I want to give this strap a little bit of something, because at the moment it's just a bland colour. So let's get in here. That's red, isn't it? So I would have called that brown. Right. So I want a little bit of medium in this, even though I've just poured it out, because I want to do a little bit of blending. Okay. So you load a blush, you roll a brush, get your brush ready like you would your airbrush. So I'm gonna catch an edge there, and then I'm gonna feather that across a little bit. And I'm going to work that the same both all the way along. So starting from this left hand side, working across, not painting this bit here or this bit. So from this point, working one way, feathering out. From this point, one way out, feathering out. So because I've made my paint thin, talked about opacity, I can do this, and as I start to build lighter colours on this left hand side, it will increase the effect. But it kind of works like a wet blend, because your paint's so opaque, it's so thin and translucent that you can pull off little tricks like this. Let's get some more brown. So now this is gonna not be pick upable on the camera at the moment, but trust me, something's happening. So I want to catch the edge of this as well. I want to give this a bit of a highlight with this same colour, bringing this round and up, and then just feather that a little bit in, a little bit here, make this look a little bit like a leather belt, and then just run my brush, catch a few of the edges of this belt underneath. So these first processes that you guys are probably going to struggle a little bit to see, that's what really is going to set your work apart, is put in the time, put in these layers. So I recently did a commission where someone was asking how I got the blend, how do you get that? It's just because instead of doing 2 highlights, I'll do 5 highlights. If you break anything down into little increments, you're going to end up with a finer result. So just to bring some colour there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to where I was, and I'm going to go back over with the same colour. Now, so because we talked about opacity and colour build, so now that same colour is creating a lighter effect. Even though I haven't upped my colour, it's just that I've put 2 coats, and so I don't go quite as far with the feather, just go a little bit, and so that same colour now is starting to build colour, and you can start to see it a little bit more, but not too much. You don't want to go too much. So catch an edge there, catch an edge. Edge. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of my leather brown. Talking with a brush in my mouth. Okay, so I'm going to give that a mix in, because I don't want to go straight to that leather brown. That's probably going to be my last highlight, the leather brown on its own. And again, just going to catch this edge and a little bit of feathering. Again, stopping closer than I did before. That's the point. So when you're layering a colour, you want to build it. You don't want to cover over all of what you just did. You want to leave some of that darker colour. So just from the left to the right, it could be from the right to the left, whatever makes you guys happy. Right. So I'm also now that I'm getting a bit lighter, I'm going to catch this straight edge. So I'm going to run a thin line like that, just on one side of this bandolier.
We're losing the model again, George. Yeah.
Are we back?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just going to catch this straight edge. Just as a little edge highlight. Right, so let's get a bit more of that. I'm going to go back around this edge, picking up again. On the other side. And just catching some of this straight edge along here. Just don't have to get it all, because I get that the fur can get in the way. But some of it where you can catch an edge. That's what you want to do. I think I'm going to step up one more shade. Right, so let's go straight up to leather brown and see if this is high enough for me, with no of the beastie brown in it. And now this is really just edge catching I want to do. I don't want to paint this all over, I just want to catch a few edges. So to create a kind of a light against the dark. Just graphic. You know what? I'm going to switch to my super powerful magnify glasses, because my normal glasses ain't cutting the mustard at that range. That's better. lighter the colour, the less you're painting. Obviously the darker you go, the more you're painting. Alright, let's take off my glasses so I can actually see it in normal eyes. Yeah, reckon that'll do you at that point. So, is there any more I think could be done to this? No, not really. I think that's going to be all you guys really need to know how to do. I'll pop this under the close-up camera. And you see that, John? So yeah, we've got some highlight on the belt. We've got some highlight on the metal. You're catching these edges to give you a little bit of definition. We've got enough variation in the fur. And a nice little highlight on the rebel symbol just to give a little bit of depth. That's all you really need to do with painting the dial. To be fair, I think painting the dial is the easiest part of this whole process. It's the sculpting that's probably a little bit of a myth for you all. So, but that's it. That's our furry dial completed. Ah, actually, no, it's not. We need to varnish it. Varnish. So this Rust-Oleum crystal clear. This is it's another plastic varnish. I've been using this for these and only these. I do not use this on my ships or my miniatures. I airbrush all my varnishes, but your miniatures aren't taking the battering this is going to take. So this is like super heavy duty varnish. So be aware that when you're spraying anything with varnish from a rattle can, you are at the mercy of environmental conditions. It needs to be warm, it needs to be dry, you need to have shaken the can properly. Sometimes I'll stand a can that's cold in a jug of lukewarm water to let the paint, what it is, it's the propellant and the paint that don't mix properly in the cold, and you get a bloom and you create your darker colours to go like frosted white. So good environmental conditions and dust coats from about 30 centimetres is what you're looking at. After it's varnished, it's done. And that really is it for our 3-part tutorial. It's a little bit of what I do kind of mashed into 3 things just to give you a bit of a taste of what the Patreon's going to be about. Get onto the website and pledge me $2, $10, $20. If you pledge me $10, you get entered into a 6 monthly draw where you're going to win one of the small ships I make. If you pledge me $20, you're going to get entered into the small ship draw and also into a large ship draw. So every 6 months, a small ship and a large ship that I've done, and most likely you guys have probably watched a video of me making, so you can see how much time and effort has gone into it. One of you is going to get to win for what? For $10 a month, which is like, it's nothing, guys. It really is nothing. And you're supporting me, you're supporting Warlords, and we can keep doing these videos for you and teaching you everything I've got inside of me, basically. There's no point taking it to the grave. I've probably only got 10 years left in me. Let's face facts. As you can see, the beard is back, so that alone should be enough reason for you guys to go out and pledge. Yeah, just, I mean, if you don't pledge, I'll shave. And then you'll have to see that weird rat-looking face without a beard on it. Look, I hope you enjoyed your time with me. I hope you enjoyed these 3 videos. I'll just say it once more. Any more, you've got to sign up to my Patreon to see them. So please get over there and do it. Follow my page on Facebook and give me a call and maybe I can do a commission piece for you. So thanks very much. One love. See you again soon.